Good morning and welcome to Memphis Monday 397. Today we rebuild this gate. Sagging pretty bad and looking pretty ugly, so we completely rebuilt it. If you want to see how we did it, stay tuned, because that's what we're going to do today. Well, welcome to another Memphis Monday 397, our 33rd week of year 8. I was in the Navy, and a famous Navy character, and he's kind of fading into history now, but his name was Hyman G. Rickover. He was the father of nuclear propulsion. Anyway, he was some would say he was a rather unpleasant individual, and unnecessarily so. And but I'd advise you to Google Hyman Rickover and check him out. Very interesting fella. But anyway, one of his rules for success, or rules for business, or rules for working, I think it was his second rule or whatever, was that if you find a problem, something's broken, fix it. Stop what you're doing, admit your mistake, and go back and fix it. Well, that's pretty common. That's pretty common advice right there. But it's particularly important in nuclear propulsion. And one of his problems was that he was so ornery that people were afraid to tell him the truth sometimes. And so he kind of fought that. Nobody wanted to give him bad news because he'd go off on them. So maybe that's the reason he stressed it. But anyway, I'm rambling on here a little bit. But every week I sit here and look at that wooden gate. And that wooden gate is unsatisfactory. It's way too low. It drags against the ground. It's too heavy. I built it with wet wood, and it's kind of twisted. And anyway, I want to take those gates out and fix them. It's my big wooden vehicle gate right there. So let's knock off the history lesson and get to work. The gates still work, and they probably would for another 100 years, but they're too close to the ground. I'll show you that in a second. And they're so heavy that they've warped my boards here a little bit. And so I put the gates too close to the ground to begin with, and then they sagged a little bit, and now they drag against the ground. So my notion is to rebuild them, shorten them up a little bit so they don't not running against the ground, raise the pickets up, and see if we can just make the whole thing lighter. Okay, I got the camera pointed towards a place in the ground. You've seen this on many gates, where the gate comes in and makes a radius where it scraped the grass off. Watch what happens when I open it. It's not rubbing against the ground until it gets over there. But I don't want it to rub against the ground at all. So now it's rubbing. See how it's rubbing against the ground? Those pickets right there, when it's open like this, are touching against the ground. I don't want that. And this side is even worse. When I get to here, I actually have to lift up on the gate to get it open. See, that's unacceptable. I'd kind of like to bring the whole gate into the shop to work on, but They're so heavy. So what I'm going to do is take them apart out here. Then work on the frame. So let me work on this deconstruction, and we'll see what we got. I got the pickets off this frame. I was checking it for square. It's kind of a remarkable finding. This is 89 and 7/8, and I just measured across there, and it was 90 and a half. So it's only 5/8 of an inch off of being square. That's nothing for something this big. So I don't know what my problem is. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this thing apart, and I'm going to be rebuilding it. And so I'll take it apart and look for some straight boards. I got the gate frame tore apart. I was able to save 7 boards. Had to throw away 2. So I guess we can start assembling the new frame. Okay, I'm going to draw our schematic as we go along because the parts are kind of overlapping. First thing we'll do is build this rectangular box. The inner boards here will be 52 inches. The overall width will be 55. And then these 2 boards will be 70. And we're going to have double boards down here. So that's a total of 5 boards. Let's cut them out and see if we can put this thing together. Well, I got everything laid out. I got that box built, and I've got the diagonal brace laid in. Let's look at some of the changes we're doing. A little dramatic reading here. The changes on the gate, 4 main changes on the frame. We're going to put fewer boards on it, I think, to make it lighter. And we're also reducing it in size somewhat. But we're using double 2x4s on the hinge side. We're using framing screws, vice ring check nails. And we have a single 52-degree brace instead of, on the original, we have 2 braces. I don't remember what the degrees are. I think there were 60 degrees or 30 degrees. And the rails are moved out to the corners to reinforce the corners and add stiffness to the gate. Let's go out and look at the other gate, and you can see these things. Here you can see on the hinge side of the gate, I have a double 2x4 up there, but it doesn't go all the way to the top or to the bottom. On our new design, that inner 2x4 goes all the way to the top and bottom. The next change is this rail, these rails here, this top rail and also that bottom rail. Those are going to be moved behind this top frame piece here to reinforce that corner. So that corner right there will have a double 2x4 and that rail all connected together, and that will reinforce those corners. And also the rails then on the gate will line up with the rails on the fence. Third change is the story is, you know, the tribal knowledge is you shouldn't put one of these angle braces in over 45 degrees. it stops being useful. Now I could cut it off over here short, maybe about in here, and call it 45 degrees and have a little tail there. But we're going to live dangerous and just put in 152. So it's a little over 45, but maybe it'll work. And then our final change to the frame is this whole thing was put together with ring shank nails, big, thick, long 3.5-inch ring shank nails. See them right there. The whole thing was ring shank nails. But on our new edition, we're using framing screws. Now here I'm putting in some framing screws. And you can see how beefy this joint is. This is the gate side, bottom gate side. So this is probably going to be the strongest joint. You can see we've got 4 pieces of wood coming in here. And we're going to have another one on top of it because the bottom rail will go against that too. And that'll be nailed in there. I'm pre-drilling these. So back to our drawing. So we put in, we're looking at the back side of the gate here. We put in our diagonal. Now, what we need to do is put in our rails, and they will cover these joints like that, and then we'll have a center rail. And to get the spacing right, the distance between here is 21 inches from the bottom. Okay, now I'll show you something you got to watch for. Now this is my lower left-hand corner. This is the hinge side. And, you know, a guy wants to just take those rails and lay them down and nail them in. But nay, you can't do that because those rails go on the other side. Remember, the rails are for the fence pickets, and they're on the outside of the gate. So I need to flip this thing over. Okay, I got the gate all clamped in place. I got that 3/4 inch spacer in there, and it's level. It ought to be level because the gate is square, and my hinge post there is plumb. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to our level when we get the hinges on and put the weight of the gate onto the hinges. So let's install some hinges. For the hinges, I'm using these stainless steel door hinges, and I'm using these 2.5 inch framing screws with the big heads, because I want them to go, you know, as far as I can into the wood. So let's give this a try. Okay, here's seeing it when I do. Take the clamps off, see what happens. That's nice. And no sagging. I put this thing together with like 2-inch ring shank nails, and I can't get these boards off. So what I did is I cut them with a jigsaw, and I'm just going to tear them out. Well, it's the next morning. I got that other gate up. I didn't show it because we already did the left gate. It came out okay. I'm processing these boards I took off the first gate. And I don't know why I was able to get some boards off that first gate. I wasn't able to get any off the second gate. But it's going to change my plans. I think I was going to, my west fence here, I was going to disassemble it like I did the east, the east fence. I was going to disassemble it like I did the west fence. But if I can't get the boards off, I'm going to have a different strategy. All I'm doing here is all the good boards, I'm taking the nails out of them, and I'm going to reuse them. And then the bad boards I'm throwing on the trailer to throw away. So nothing to see here. I'm just taking nails out. I'll bring you back when something exciting happens. Now I'm putting the pickets on, putting the inner pickets on, and I'll put the outer pickets in the spaces. What I've done is I've spaced these things out so I can get as few pickets as possible on the gate, so I can keep it kind of light. I'm using 1 5/8 deck screws, put the inner ones in. and 2.5 inch for the outer. Well, I got the pickets in. Let's see if this thing opens. That's what I'm talking about. All right, let's take a look at it. Well, I guess that does it for Memphis Monday 397. We completely rebuilt the gates. Used almost all new wood. Reused some of it. Still, I retain the latch right there. The gates are secured by that latch and also by those stakes that go through the bottom rail. On the, we had to go with 52-degree angles here because there's just no way a 45 would fit in there without, without making it look funny. It should work. I went with 5 hinges, 5 stainless steel hinges on each side. And as of right now, everything is square and plumb, so we can't beat that. Well, that does it for another Memphis Monday 397. I tell you, a couple of mysteries on this thing, at least one. I'm trying to figure out why the gate frames seem to be fairly square, but they still look like they were sagging. I think, as best I can tell, my frame was too large. My 2 frames were too large to fit in that opening, and so I had to adjust the hinges, trying to get to try to get them in that space, and I got them out of plumb, and that caused them to sag and look ugly. But now everything's square. It's squared to the hinge side, and everything's looking good. Another discovery we made is that pulling out those ring shank nails, I only saved about 1/3 of the boards. That one gate I couldn't save any. The ring shank nails were just stuck in the wood. I just couldn't get them out without breaking the wood. So I ended up sawing it and taking it out. Well, what that's going to lead to, I was going to completely rebuild this east fence here, just like we did on the west side. But I don't think I can do that without without completely destroying this fence and just starting over. And actually, this one's not bad. It's just a little bit too close to the ground. And what I'm thinking about doing is just going along there with a saw and just shortening the boards all the way around. That's kind of what I've been thinking about. All right, so that's all I have. Like, favorite, share, and comment, and all stuff you know on the internet. But most important, make sure you're back here next week for another exciting Memphis Monday. Thanks for playing along.